Hello, I'm back again with my toile for my occasion dress, or what do you want to call it. You can see it's a really simple toile, and I'm already not quite sure of the neckline, but of course we need to pop it on and find out how it fits. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to pin my center back together, and I'm actually going to pin in some straps at the back, and then I can just turn around and then pin at the front, and that will save me having to put in a zip, which always adds for extra bit of time. And what I'm going to do is first of all actually check how I like the neckline. I'm probably going to do it with like just a strip of cotton and then try out the graphic, and I'm probably also going to pin this on quickly to see how it all works. But first of all, let's put on that toile. I actually managed to pin it on without any straps because it's so skin tight at the moment. And what is quite interesting, I'm using my very fitted blocks, but of course my normal block still has the shoulders, which actually means I have a tiny bit of ease here, and whenever I change that style from a normal style with sleeves to what is basically a strapless or style with thin straps, it's a bit loose around here. So if I turn around very fetching with my bra, you can actually see that I had to pinch it in a bit more. So I've only got a centimeter seam allowance, but you can see on the center back, to make it skin tight, I actually had to pinch out a bit more. And that quite often happens even if you have a very fitted style. There's a difference between very fitted when it has shoulders, where that's still holding it up, and where you haven't got any shoulders and it has to stay up by yourself. And this actually, if I would make a corset and I stand up straight, this looks fine. But can you see if I breathe in, it starts getting a little bit too tight, and these horizontal marks, it's actually a sign that it's too tight, it's straining. You can see at the back it's straining now as well. So if I wanted this to be completely strapless, I would actually probably have to make it tight and just stand up really straight, and of course make it strong enough and interface it enough so it would have several layers, maybe even some boning, which meant that if I breathed in, this wouldn't happen because this is a single layer of fabric. What I'm going to do is make it a little bit wider now, and then just pin it to my bra straps, so it will stay up with straps and it'll be tight enough up here, but it's a bit too tight below my bust at the moment. So you can see I've made it just a little bit looser at the back, a few mil, and I think I might make it a little bit later, but this is pretty good because I can breathe in and out, and it just, if I breathe in very hard, it's just wet. But the good thing is around my stomach area, actually I've left some ease in, so I can eat some food and drink something, and the only thing I can't do, I have got quite a big grip cage, I can't do a massive deep long breath, but that's all right. So now I'm happy with the overall fit. Let's talk about designed fit, because up to now it's been about that it fits me. So I needed to make it tight enough here that it doesn't gape. That was the first thing, because of course when you have sleeves, a bit of ease doesn't matter, but if you have a strapless style or a style with only thin straps, if it's gaping here, it's really unflattering, and also, it just doesn't work. Now I'm happy with all that. The next thing is actually the shape of it. So the back is fine. I'm not planning to wear a bra, but I probably could wear a bra underneath if I wanted to. But I'm hoping to make this supportive enough that I can wear without a bra, because otherwise you always have an issue with the straps. However, I don't find very flattering at the moment is this line here. It's sort of very high, and of course this is where I was saying when I was designing it, I really have to see whether this actually works, because what I will do now is actually pin it on, because if I want to keep this a grosgrain, I have two options. What I thought would be really beautiful is if it followed all the way around, which means I will have to keep all these lines because I need to have it completely straight. Can you also see what happens? This is completely straight, which is what we need to put on the grosgrain. but optically it actually looks like it's raising up slightly. So I actually sort of want to have the grosgrain like this. Can you see? So that looks straight, but that is actually slightly curving the grosgrain down. So if I use grosgrain, I will have to do some really tricky stitching on putting it all together. So what I'm first of all going to do is actually pin all the grosgrain on, actually pin the fabric to my trowel and see whether I like it, and then I will also try out the separate alternate style where I actually curve it down with thinner straps and see how that works. Here we go, I've pinned it on. I'm going to do a swirl for you. I've got the rest of the fabric all together, but you can see I literally pinned it to my trowel. This is not like you get trowel for the fitting. This is really now about the design process, because once you have the block and it fits, a lot of the time when you actually design something, it is like, does it suit me? Does it work for you? How does it look? How does it fit? So it's a combination of lots of different things. So the fit is now fine. Now it's about the design. And I think my suspicion, which I had when I started designing it, this grosgrain might be a bit too heavy for the print. But the design, I like the blue spot with the printed borders, worked really well because it was very graphic but paler. So the border was part of the same fabric, so it was softer. I think for this one, I think the grosgrain is too top heavy. And it's too sort of solid compared to the floatiness of organza. So it distracts from it. And of course, what would then happen as well, I would have a belt. So it's, I think it's nice, but I'm not 100% sure it works. And I think if it's at that stage where you actually want to say, will I wear it? I'm also not 100% sure if I would want to use grosgrain all the way around here, which really means you have to use a very wide neckline. So I'm not 100% sure what this is. So what I'm going to do, rather than commit to it, is try out my different idea. So I know this basically works as it is. What I will do is on my trowel just mark exactly where I pinned these at the front and back, and I will mark how tight I made it. And then I'm going to take all this stuff off, put it back on, and this time actually try out my second design, which was with very thin straps, a curved normal armhole, this slightly curved as well, so it's a bit more flattering and less cutting me in half, because I think that's what's happening at the moment as well. There's a really block of red at the top which cuts me in half, and then you got this white, and I know I can try to get another flower there, but it's just that the print is too sparse, I think, because I think even if it actually, you can see, if it was a busier print, I think it would look less blocky. So I'm going to try out my second design idea now. I'm back to my plain trowel, and what I'm now going to do is just draw on how I think it looked more flattering. I think this point where it hits here is pretty fine, but what I think is I basically want the middle bit to be slightly lower down. So I think it should actually sort of maybe sort of come to here. So I think actually needs to curve down, and then I really, this is often a line you need when you have a strapless bodice, because to hold it in, and also of course as soon as you raise your arms, it can become a bit too exposing. But on here I'm going to have straps, so I just want to have this a little bit curved. I'm just really looking, I think from here I want it more like this. I have to be really careful, because if you go too far, what will happen is when they expose too much and suddenly you have you'll be completely exposed if you move. So just a little bit. What I'm going to do is cut that out and then pin my fabric on there again, so I can see the rest. I like the length and everything, so it's really now just fine-tuning the details to get it right for myself. I'm literally just holding it on, but that's a really quick way of checking. It's basically the shape of my brow more or less, but can you see it still needs a tiny shave off here? a mil or so. So I'm going to do that and then pin on the fabric. But it's really important when you are taking stuff off like that to take off a little bit of time, because once you've taken it off you can't check it. So if in doubt, always take it off a mil or two at a time. Here we have it. I've trimmed off a bit more and I actually put on the sort of strap I'm thinking about. I'm going to do a twirl. And I'm going to actually look at that later to see I'm 100% ready with the strap. So what you can see, I have shaved off a tiny bit more. And that's actually now because I'm moving from somewhere where it's very tight to my body to somewhere where I have a bit more, where it starts going into my bust. So I'm actually going to pinch out a little bit more. So I'm going to do a slash line from here to my dart and actually make it a little bit tighter there, because otherwise you get this gaping here, which sort of feels you always sort of notice it when you wear it. So I'm going to do it on my flat pattern cutting knife, literally just 3 mil. But this is my design. I think this is pretty nice. I think it just needs pinching out. It just basically looks like a vest. A very complicated vest. But what I now can do is I've got the base I like. I can now pin on the fabric. I've moved the camera down slightly so you can see. So the first option, of course, was just to treat it completely flat. So I would have it something like that, and then have each panel have another rose there, or tulip, I'm not quite sure they are. So I think the problem I have is there, it's still very white. So what I need to first of all find, I think, oh look, I've got one. Let's find the biggest rose. On here, can you see, I think I need to use this part of the print. Let's use this as a scarf. So I think something like that will ensure that I've basically got tulips everywhere. Because I don't want to have them just at the top, and I also don't want them just at the bottom. So I can now either pin this on like a sort of scarf. I can now either have this completely flat like this, but what I do think might look quite nice, and I have to choose the print quite carefully, but on the top layer, rather than having just the seams, I think if you replace the seams with pleats like that, or even maybe just sort of pleats coming along there, so it makes the flowers look 3D and gives a bit of volume, because what always looks quite nice is bodices like that. If you have some sort of, instead of just having a flat volume, if you have some sort of pleated detail in organza like that, which is sort of framed by the tight dress, it adds a bit more interest. I think asymmetric won't work on that style because I still want to have that front pleat, but I think what I will do, I've got quite a lot of this fabric. What I will do is my underbodice, basically the bodice itself is just all the work. I'm either going to actually cut it out of this cotton, which has a really nice weight, or I also got a cotton linen mix, which is really nice, but which is slightly off-white. So I'm going to compare the two of them, and then I think I will actually cut the top layer, which is purely ornamental. It's about being pretty. I will cut that with the pleated details. So what I'm going to do next is draft that out, the top layer, and do the changes first of all, of course, into the fit and into the neckline to my bottom layer. And I will do that all in the next tutorial. So this is it from me for today.